DIRT 3478. Joey, I want to know, because you made the announcement, you are continuing your career with X Factor. Now, I had a conversation with a certain somebody earlier in the season that I kind of got a lowdown on something, that there was something in the make. But I had to hold on to that because you don't.
Something and something to something?
Yeah, there was something in the make with there, and I don't want to say what I was told because I don't know if I'm going to be 100% correct on that. I know what I heard. Or what I think I heard.
There's something and stuff.
Right. So I want Joey to call in and give us the details on what's going on, because he said he's going to continue with the X Factor and Mike Miller. I want to know, is Joey getting a new X Factor chassis? Is X Factor and Mike coming back into production? Or is this a deal that's a special deal for Joey? Or is Mike coming back to produce Joey, you're not listening. Pay attention.
541-714 DIRT.
That's 3478.
Correct. 541. Here, we'll do it this. I know you got your phone right now. Okay. 541-714-3478. Give us a call. Let's talk. You know what, Joey Tanner? Let's talk dirt. This would be a good time to talk dirt. Since we're,
Well, I mean, we're not talking about dirt track racing. I want to know the lowdown on this. I want to know what's going on with this X Factor deal, because, he said he made the announcement he's staying with the X Factor cars because he had talked about possibly doing something else. But there he is right there.
There we go. Joey Tanner, can you hear us? What's going on, big guy? Welcome to Moxie Media, and welcome to Northwest Dirt News.
All right.
Joey, what's going on, man?
I couldn't get the number down the first time, so I had to have you guys spell it out for me.
Well, we got you on the phone, and let's just hit it. What's going on with you and X Factor, man? Are they back in the game or what?
We're trying. I just, Mike has been so busy since he stopped doing X Factor. I mean, everybody knows that he ran it as a business there for that year when he was doing all the parts at Willamette, and kind of stepped away from it. And
right.
I don't know. I mean, whoever wants a car can get a car. And I've just been, I've been pretty dedicated to him and working with this program. And, in the off season, we were going to think about, what our options were. And I wanted to stick with him because, we've had such good history and good luck these last few years. So he's going to build me a new one, and I'm going to continue to stay with him. And about, him building cars, he's always up for building cars, and whoever wants to get in a car, get in a car.
Now, is it going to be just a late model deal, or is he going to continue with the X Factor modified brand too?
It's a late model.
He's not going to do any more of the modifieds?
Oh, I'm sure. He's got all the jig stuff and everything to do a modified, and I'm sure if somebody wanted a modified, he could build him one. But with me and him, we're going to do the late model stuff, and Steve's going to come together with us, and we're going to do a little bit of stuff on his car, and maybe another driver that we might be getting into an X Factor. I'm not going to name any names.
Well, I'm not going to either because it was. That's exactly why I didn't want to say anything.
A good driver.
Right, and that's exactly why I didn't want to say anything, because I didn't know if it was going to be a public deal yet. But we'll bite our tongue on that.
Well, let's just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Ladies and gentlemen, it is actually going to be me in that new X Factor car. I talked to Joey Tanner at Sunset after that dominating class that he put on. So let's put it out there right now. Ladies and gentlemen, your new X Factor, your driver, Josh Warbus.
Did you see how quick his eyes got brown?
No, Joey, that's
I didn't know that Mike built go-karts.
Well,
hey, there's nothing wrong with kart racing. I just bought a brand new one.
Well, I'll tell you what though, multiple champion I am, and let's do IKF and WKA. I've got some of those.
I'll put an IKF card up against WKA any day.
Oh, all day long. I'm still
all day.
I'm still a Duffy winner.
Yes, you do.
I'm still a Duffy winner. It's all good.
You two Pee-wee guys over here.
Listen, Big Pimpin'.
Hey.
All right, so let's.
Tiny, would you come out and jump in a cart with us, and we'll push you around a little bit?
He can't. His eyes are crossed.
Dude.
He's so scared to get in a go-kart.
Hang on. Carts don't have windshields, right?
Nope.
I'm good.
There you go. So Joey, let's talk a little bit about your win there at Sunset last weekend. You started about I don't know if you started kind of close to Ford, mid-pack or whatever. Let's talk about some of the hard racing that you had to do, and then you're eventually getting around Greg and kind of putting a class in the field.
That was a good race. It's been so long since I've been to that Doug Walters Memorial race because it's been a crazy deal, and we've been focused on the big motor stuff with my car, and it was cool to go back to it and as a I-5 race, so you can get some of the guys like Meat Collin went, Peters went from Cottage Grove. It wasn't a lot of cars; it was mainly crate cars, but it was cool to go back there, and we had a really good car. We started off the night real good. We qualified fast time, and the heat race didn't go our way. Trophy Dash didn't really go our way, but that track. I don't know. I used to hate banks. I used to not like banks. I couldn't figure it out. Greg was almost untouchable there every time we went there, and these last few years, I think I've figured out how to really get around that track because that is a tough racetrack. I don't care what anybody says. It's a tight little track. Yeah, and it's tough, but it's greatly ran by Nicky, and it produces a good driver. That track is such a driver technical track, and all three of you can vouch for that because you've all three been there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So let's, when
I mean, we had a good setup, and me and Colin ran hard for a couple laps, and Greg and I ran hard, and he raced me clean, and we had a good race, and it was a nice clean race, and nothing got tore up. We had a little bit of nail biters with lap traffic, but I mean, you couldn't ask for a better race.
Yeah, they're towards the backstretch and stuff. You're talking about Ed Peters coming up, Lucas Oil sponsor car down from down south. It was awesome to see him come up. Definitely. Let's talk a little bit about Victory Lane. When I got to Steve Moore finished third, and then of course Greg finished second. Was trying to go for his number 8th win in a row. Was definitely emotional, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, your feelings. We said on the earlier broadcast or earlier part of this broadcast is that you didn't go into, talking about how good your car was and how good you were and all that type of stuff. Your very first comment, which just blew me away with excitement and pride, was that you thanked, the Walters family and everything they've done for you in your racing.
Oh man, I just, I was talking to my dad about it before I even went there. What if we were to win? What I'm gonna say because I started my dirt late model career with Greg and Doug. Doug was the one that got me in it at 15. We had to lie about my age, but he got me in the late model and let me run the PCDLM. And my dad and my brother ran with the Walters gang for the 3 years prior to that, and then Steve was around with Walters for a long, long time as Greg's crew chief and their mechanic at the shop. And it was just, it was so cool because Doug was a mentor, Greg was a mentor, and to win that race, I know how much heart and soul Greg puts into that race, and I know how much effort he puts into it, and I know how much it means to their family to win that race, and that's why it was humbling. It really was. I've won a lot of races in my career. I've won a lot of big races on asphalt and dirt. Now I can honestly say that I've won the Clear Cup in the Doug Walters Memorial, which is huge because those two are literally icons. And there's a lot of people that do a lot for Northwest Racing. Don't get me wrong, there is, but those two stand out by a long shot.
Yeah,
And Doug was one of the guys that really, really boosted dirt late model racing after the sideboard era.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll agree with
100%.
that. And Doug was, the history that he had just in Northwest Racing. I mean, you're talking decades, whether it was at Portland Speedway or Willamette or anywhere else. I mean, Doug was known. He was just one of those guys that he truly helped grow the sport. It didn't matter where he was at, what kind of racing he was doing. He was just one of those guys that took the cars and the sport to the next level.
Yeah, it helped,
he really did.
Helped start the Tour Series, the I-5 Series, and everything else. Helped these guys.
The quality of his cars, was like, if you wanted to, be on the competitive level, you had to be. Yeah, that was kind of the standard.
And then like you said, but what a lot of people didn't know is that he, all these promoters, they go out and get sponsors. At the beginning, it was all out of pocket through TNG.
Right.
From him. I mean, he literally started it from scratch, and it brought, Greg was and still is in my eyes one of the best racers, and he is very underrated because he's the winningest driver in the Northwest. He's won more than Trevor. He's won more than Rob. He is a winner, and he's won a lot of races, and that's where he was racing with Doug once they left Willamette from the sideboards, and it brought Jeremy Shank to late models. It really made Jeremy good. John Duty followed it. Bob Jeffries ran that series for 3 years before he hurt his back. I mean, Russell ran it. There's so many good drivers that went
Right.
from the sideboards to that series that Doug started. So, I
Well,
mean, that's just one thing that really, people kind of forget or seem to overlook when they talk about Doug Walters and,
Well,
what
I
he
wouldn't
really
say that
did. There's
Greg.
a lot of things that he did that people kind of forget. And I just, that was one thing that I said in my interview with you, Josh, is, he just does a lot, and it meant a lot to win that race.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I
and
can
it was
imagine.
emotional and stuff. And after your interview, he came up, once he kind of caught his composure and everything else, and kind of stopped me actually in front of your car, and he said, "Hey, I kind of got, just a quick, I got my composure back. I just want to kind of say something else." And he wanted to thank you for running so hard and everything else, and he just wanted to thank the fans and everything else to come out. That race definitely means a
That
lot.
race
It
draws
meant
a crowd.
not only to him, but it meant a lot to the fans and everything else. I mean,
Sure.
that place was packed. That place was huge.
Well, look
I
at
mean,
the same thing last year too. It just draws people.
just
That's
draws
that's a
people.
premier event now.
when you talk about Joey Tanner, Colin Weinbarger, Superman, you talk about Walters, you talk about some of these big name guys that that these people follow. I mean, you guys got fans and stuff that follow you, and when it comes to Sunset, they know it's going to be close racing. They know it's going to be door handle. It's going to be a nail biter every single lap. And to watch you and Greg run side by side for 5 laps, I mean, these guys were side by side. Joey's on the high side, Walter's down low. Then they would switch spots. They came up to some lap traffic, and this is where Joey initially got the lead. Was they came up to some lap traffic in the backstretch, which actually I believe it was Celeste. I think coming up backstretch going into turn 3, and Joey just basically he never stopped, and the car hooked, and I mean it was in lights out
Well,
at
when you
that
get
time.
2 quality drivers like that on a track like Sunset, side by side for 5 laps, I mean, you can't, as a race fan, you can't ask for anything better.
It was just
That's
it was
good racing.
awesome. So let's talk about the last 5 laps. When that caution came out, what did you think? Did you think that the Walters was going to get you?
I didn't think he was going to get me, but you just never know with Greg, and I was just really, really trying to hit my mark on the restart. Let's put it that way, because if I didn't get a good restart, he could have drove in there and gave me a door. Because, like I said, how much he wants to win, and friendship aside, 'cause we are really good friends.
Right.
I'm
So
sure he would have, but I just tried to keep a good restart.
I
And
don't.
the car got better and better and better and better as the race went on, and that's how I kind of shoot to set up my cars nowadays. Is you don't need a car that's going to be the winningest car at the beginning of the race. You need something that's going to be
Exactly.
that good or better at the end, and that's what wins races. And my car was. I would love to say that I outdrove everybody, but the car was really, really good. And
Well,
it was,
you
it
were-
made it a lot easier, and it's still tough no matter what, because Greg can drive, and his car is, he hasn't really spent a whole lot of time on it, and he hasn't really raced it very much.
He
focusing
said
on
that
his
the kids
and,
come first. Yeah.
their sports and growing up.
Yep.
So I mean, give or take, you can put Greg Walters in a freaking a boat. He can make it look great.
Well, and we saw that earlier at Willamette when he jumped in Jimmy's car and went out and ran second, in that big race with Jeremy at the Clare Cup. I mean, that was another awesome deal. I mean, just to see those guys with Darren Koffel and Jeremy Shank and Greg, like the old days, nose to nose, nose to tail, bumper to bumper. It was good to see, and Greg just showed that. That's something I'll disagree with you when you said that Greg was underrated. I don't think Greg's underrated anywhere he goes because, like Joey said, he's a very talented driver, and I think, and we all know in the racing community from drivers like Joey and everybody else in the late model, he's highly respected.
Right. I think I think what Joey's trying to say, and quote me if I'm wrong, whatever like that, is just because he hasn't been in the car as much as Shank or Tanner or anything like that.
But he's
or
also that guy that will show up at Willamette.
If you show up,
like we saw 2 years ago, he shows up, starts 17th in the feature, and finished 3rd
Right.
with a crate motor
Right.
against the open guys. I mean, that's just what Greg does. Greg's smooth, and he knows how to get around, and he's definitely displayed a lot of patience in those situations, and that's the thing I like Joey. Watching Joey. You've come a long ways, Joey, over the last couple of years, and
from running go-karts at Rod Schultz's backyard with me and with me and Parrot, and trying to keep you calm and say, Joey, listen, you need to slow down going the turn. You're like, screw this.